I hope everybody knows in the audience that she is she's got such a strong voice. She's an activist, pretty powerful person. I'm very honored to be in the same room with you. And
thank you so much.
And tell us about the importance of being a star in this film.
Yeah, Star was the way that Angie Thomas wrote her in the book. It was one of the first times that I felt like I'd seen a multi-dimensional portrayal of a Black experience in a way that didn't rely on tropes or stereotypes, in a way that I could actually connect to, in a way that validated me and made me feel empowered. And so I understood the power of that reaching so many people through the publishing of the book, but also the potential power for that to exist through the medium of film. Just because film is one of those mediums that actually grounds us in our empathy and has the power to make us understand experiences outside of our own. And so, it was a dream come true being able to portray her. And our intention with this film was to create that same feeling for other people, to create that feeling of validation of being seen and heard, to put these events in a context that would make them accessible and understandable to those who haven't necessarily had to empathize with these experiences because they haven't been exposed to them or they're not a part of the Black community, and just to create a further sense of unity, especially in really chaotic times. I feel like sometimes it's really necessary to come back to the drawing board and ground ourselves once again in what makes us most human, and that is love and that is empathy.
Bravo. Thank you. Just like the talk, I wasn't aware about code switching, and you went to a prep school, and you come from low income family. Can you tell us about your closeness to that experience of code switching?
Yeah, it's just the process of assimilation. Entering a space where you haven't been historically accepted into. Being isolated, perhaps, in your experience. I went to a school where I was one of 3 girls of color in my class. There were no boys of color. And I started going there when I was 10, which is the same age, actually, that Star is in the book, when she starts going to her private school. So I really related to the experience of growing up around that time, going into a new space that's completely different from your home neighborhood, from the culture that you're used to, and then having to learn that language and that culture in order to feel less alienated, in order to feel accepted, and also because you have this understanding, even if you're not cognizant of it yet, you have this understanding that your potential success in that environment, especially if you're a person of color, is often contingent upon your ability to translate your words into this new language that will be understood by this culture that is, wealthy and white and different. And so I really related to Star's struggle with that. And she becomes really seamless at code switching. I also thought it would be powerful and interesting for those who don't necessarily recognize when we code switch, because I think it's kind of been somewhat of a secret within the Black community for a long time, understand that we do have that multidimensionality, and it is necessary for us to switch it up and rely upon these different facets of self in order to be respected, in order to be taken seriously.
And Regina, what was it about the project that attracted you, that you needed to be part of this family?
Well, originally I read the book, and I thought the book was so amazing. And sometimes it's hard to translate a book into a theatrical piece. And I thought the script was wonderful. Fox was so conscious of wanting to be honest and keep the integrity of the book and the story intact. And that was wonderful to be a part of something where that was just as important to them as it was for us as the artist and the director. So I think everything, the cast, the studio, the producers, minus Bob and Marty, But you know, everyone involved was, you know, there was such honesty and such integrity. So it was wonderful to be a part of.
George alluded to the fact that you had 2 weeks rehearsal. You know, what was it like to have that period to create your family?
Yeah,
Oh, that was a great. Oh,
that was great.
sorry. No, I couldn't tell.
I'm sorry? Who's you asking? Oh no, I was asking Regina. What was it like to have?
This is what it was like on set. I just want everybody to know. I had ideas, and then George. No. George was amazing. He's amazing. It was great, you know, and it was great that, again, we had a director that wanted that rehearsal time and a studio that said, well, you know, that's more money. That's 2 weeks of people on set. That's 2 weeks of cast per diem. So it was great that we started off the film with that much consciousness and care of creating the family dynamic for Star. Amanda's pretty easy to love. And so, you know, being able to spend time with her and the kids, it was wonderful as you know, from an artistic point of view and a personal point of view.
And now it's about you, George Tillman Jr. I admire the color coding that you did in the film when you know there are warm colors, red colors. That is when we're with the family, and then when she is in the fancier school, it's blues and recessive colors. You know, can you tell us about that?
Yeah.
But when I decided. No.
Touche.
That's good. All right. It was. It started just for me at a young age. When I was in 5th grade, I went to a public school, but my parents moved me to a public school that was 70% white. And it was just completely different. So I remember that experience, that it was completely different. The hallways were wider, the color scheme was different, the way the students moved. So when I had my first meeting with Amanda, that's the first thing that she was telling me. I was just listening to all the things which she was telling me about her experience, how music is different, how she changes everything. So I just went into that perspective of really changing the perspectives of Star, staying in her point of view. So that's what we really did. So we really created a chart like 4 or 5 months out for her behavior. Her behavior would change, and her movements and her talk. You'll see the difference, how her voices would change between the two worlds. And all that is down from the music to the camera moves, and we just had these rules. So like a lot of the stuff you see in Garden Heights, just with my DP, I knew I wanted to go more wider, so we actually got hold of these really 2 lenses that they actually used on Ben-Hur for the anamorphic, and it only been used with Quentin Tarantino, used it on Hard 8. So that was the experience of just letting the audience be in her eyes, and I just wanted to stay in Star's point of view the whole time.